does Fred ever change?
No. Plus, London say I'm dressed like a gym teacher, so that kind of bothered me.
And you played a lot of musical chairs growing up?
No.
Just Fred. So try to look you in out. Training camp is on the horizon, and we have a big show in store for you. We're talking legendary linebackers with the future Hall of Famer, London Fletcher. And Logan's going inside the film room to break down the Commanders' dynamic duo of Bobby Wagner and the Tasmanian Devil, Frankie Luvu. Plus, our analysts are sharing their list of Washington's all-time greats. All that and more starts right now on Command Center. Welcome into Command Center. I'm here with Mr. 8 to the 9 Santana Moss, the mouth of the South, Fred Smoot, and the prospect professor, Logan Paulson. I'm your host, Brian Cobra Jr. Fellas, it's a very interesting time right now because it's in between OTAs, but before training camp. Now, I know you guys all did different things to prepare for the season. Logan, I'm going to start with you. What did you do during this time?
Yeah, so what I did this time was try to hang out with the family, right? And I always found this time to be very stressful because it's like, you just finished like kind of the OTA period, you're in great shape, you're like, oh, now it's a month off, so I got to make sure I don't get out of shape, and I got to enjoy the time with the family. So I always felt like you were a little bit on borrowed time, which I didn't love about this process. But again, like it was good to spend some time with the family, go on a little vacation, go to Cape Cod. Right?
You love Cape Cod.
The whole thing.
Now, Fred, we're going to wait for you because I got a feeling you was up to no good during this time. Santana Moss, man, what did you do to prepare for the season?
I did the same thing, something similar. Vacation was first on my mind, so I was always trying to get away, but at the same time counting the days. And as I was doing that, I was doing it with the fam. I always wanted to be around the kids, just knowing that even though I see them by the time the fall hit, I wanted to make sure that once I left for the summer, that I got enough time in with them. So between vacationing, working out, and being with the kids, man, this was, how I was,
Fred, what did you do?
Family got Fred. Let's see.
Wait. Let's be honest, fellas. This was a battle between the day Fred and the night Fred. Now, here go the thing about it. The day Fred, family, be around, do the things I need to do, work out, get a little work out of here. The night Fred, hey, I ain't gonna get to do this long, so I gotta do it now. All right? Essence Festival, Miami, California, New York, wherever I need to be, I need to get it out of my system right now because when the season starts, I need to be focused on the eyes on the prize.
You were doing the same thing during the season.
Hey, fellas, I feel like night Fred is the same as day Fred. Like, when does Fred ever change?
No. Night Fred and day Fred are two different people. That's all I'm saying.
I am not sure I believe you, but I'm sure whatever you guys did to be ready for the season was great. Now, we got a birthday to celebrate, and it's a future Hall of Famer, not named Fred Smoot. That's right, linebacker Bobby Wagner's birthday is this week. So happy birthday to the legendary linebacker. We are wishing the brother a happy birthday to the future gold jacket, Bobby Wagner. Since we're talking about Bobby Wagner, let's look at the amazing historic career of Bobby Wagner. It's time for Top 5, presented by UA Local 5 Plumbers, protecting the health of the nation's capital since 1890, Fred. Now, here's a look at Wagner's career numbers. Over 1,800 total tackles, 35 sacks, 7 forced fumbles. Now, this might be more than Fred. 13 interceptions and 72 pass deflection. That was Logan right now, just helping them out. Definitely a Hall of Fame career for Bobby. And if anyone knows about a Hall of Fame career as a linebacker, it's future Hall of Famer London Fletcher, a.k.a. Big Fletch. All right, fellas, Logan and Tanner, y'all take a break. Me and Fred got this one. Welcome again, future Hall of Famer, the captain, London Fletcher. And I got my boy Fred Smoot with me because he can't miss a chance to see his boy, Big Fred.
Captain Ted.
I love it. How you feeling, brother?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. Especially now that I get to see Fred Smoot this morning.
That was actually a lot nicer than I thought. I thought something crazy was coming.
About the attack.
I love it. We are showing love to our linebacker room. First things first, Bobby Wagner decides to come back and run it back with the burgundy and gold, man. What has his leadership done for this locker room? Not only the young guys, but also guys like Frankie Luvu.
Yeah, no, having a guy like Bobby on your team, a guy who's been in a bunch of big games, been to Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl, played in multiple Pro Bowls, been all pro. You talk about me being a future Hall of Famer. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer as well. But when you're able to bring Bobby back, it's not only big for the linebacker room, but it's big for your team. You saw and you see the connection that he has with Jaden Daniels, the relationship they have. Him just showing guys through his leadership, showing them how to be pros, but also playing at an extremely high level last season, making a Pro Bowl team, also adding another All-Pro to to his resume. So it was huge getting him to come back and play another year.
Yeah, London, you know, the thing we did, I remember when we signed you back here, I was actually one of your guys that was with you when we signed you back here, and we signed you at a later age. And it's the same thing that's going on right now with Bobby Wagner. Like, when you get a guy that signs at this later age and still playing at such a high level, how does it affect guys like Jordan McGee and Cade Madrano when you have the guys like you and like Bobby Wagner that get on this team? How infectious is that when you find a guy that, one, is professional, 2, plays at a high level, 3, is the leader of the team?
You know, it's when you have a guy like a Bobby Wagner in your room, and as a rookie, I had some great veteran leaders, especially in the linebacker room, that I was able to learn how to be a pro by not only watching them, but them also pouring into me, teaching me how to study, how to prepare, how to take care of my body, all of the things that it takes to be a pro. A lot of these guys, young guys, they come into the NFL, they may have just got by on their physical abilities, physical traits, and all those types of things, but they don't understand what it takes to be a true pro, taking care of your body, proper rest, nutrition, how to study, how to game plan for an opponent, and having a guy like Bobby in that meeting room and being that example to these linebackers is invaluable.
And London, last time we talked to you like this, you mentioned the word rich people problems. And I got to imagine rich people problems is having guys like Bobby Wagner and Frankie Luvu when you're somebody like Joe Witt Jr., especially a guy like Joe Witt Jr., who last year was doing his first time as a defensive coordinator. How much easier does it make Dan Quinn's job, Joe Witt Jr.'s job, having guys on the field like that? Because Joe Witt Jr. is up top. Yeah. He trusts his guys to make those calls, man. How impactful is that?
Yeah, it's the one thing you want to have is a great connection with the defensive coordinator and your linebackers. I know a lot of teams, they're going to build from the front back. You want to have a dominant defensive line, and obviously you want to have great cover guys on the back end. But the linebackers are an extension of the defensive coordinator, especially that middle linebacker, that connection that Joe Witt Jr. has with Bobby. But then you mentioned Frankie Luvu. He's the energy. He's the chess piece that they have that they can move at a bunch of different places, play him at a bunch of different positions. 1 minute he's a standoff off the ball linebacker. Next minute he's a edge rusher. They also love blitzing, and just the physicality and the energy that he brings to this team. I'm sure Joe Witt is thrilled to have both those guys on his defense.
Gotta love having dogs all across the field, especially on that defense. London Fletcher, brother, we appreciate you always, man. Future Hall of Famer right here, talking about possibly some future Hall of Famers on our team. We appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. Now, we're talking about our linebackers. Both Wagner and Luvu earned a spot on the Pro Football Focus top 32 linebackers heading into the 2025 season. Now, Wagner's coming off his 13th straight, Fred, 13 straight 100 tackle seasons. And Luvu is coming off a career high, 8 sacks in 2024. We called him the Tasmanian Devil, Fred. Now, we are excited to see what this duo will do with this upcoming season, getting to run it back a second time. Now, for more on the Commanders linebacker duos, let's send it to the film room. It's time for your can't miss moment, presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of the Washington Commanders.
Thanks, Brian. All right, guys, let's talk about linebackers, right?
I love to play, baby.
And it's two of the funnest guys on the team, I think, to talk about. Yeah. One guy with a ton of experience and one guy who just plays with his hair absolutely on fire. Yeah. And I think this is one of the things that makes them special is their ability to win a one-on-one with the back. So you're going to get kind of this rush pattern here. Everyone's got a gap. Frankie's going to rip across the center's face, and you're going to get this cross-dog action, and you're going to get one-on-one action with this back. And I don't know if there's a back in the league that can block Frankie one-on-one or Bobby, because this is the first game of the season, man. Yeah. And watch him just put his helmet on this dude.
And understand, push you in the quarterback's lap right there. Yeah. But this is rushing as a group right here. Yeah. This is not individual rush. Wagner can't do his job unless Frankie do his job. And he just sent up. So when you see them rush as a group right there, that's showing a vet. And you know what we call Frankie the Tasmanian Devil. So you got one that goes a million miles per hour, and you got another middle linebacker that wastes no steps and no effort.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so like seeing them work together is awesome, and how Joe Witt Jr. deploys them. And this is one of my favorite, maybe my favorite clip of the entire entire year for any player is just watch him work here. The Bears are trying, they're in a 4x1, they're checking to a play, they're trying to dictate coverage to the offense.
Yeah.
But when you have a linebacker like Bobby, he says, no, what? You know, I got you. Hey, let's get this checked out. They went from an empty check. Let's get the defensive line on the check.
Yeah.
Hey, let me talk to Jeremy Chin here real quick. Let's get everybody worked on the same page. Like, that takes a dude. Fred, you can speak to this probably better than anybody.
This is the same thing Fletcher used to do. At the end of the day, he's our quarterback. He's going to put, as he changed plays, we change plays. And you can't just do it with the back end. You got to do it with the front end, too. You got to get everybody and everybody in between to be on the same page.
I just heard Ray Lewis talk about how much importance it is to have communication on the field.
It's everything.
And when you watch him, you don't wonder why they were so good, because you automatically know and you see it from just how he communicates with everybody.
And you know what he's communicating to, like you're talking about, because this is not a stunt you would run versus empty. Right? All this pinching in here. But when the back gets in the backfield, I can make that check. I can check the coverage. And now I'm a good enough athlete and smart enough. I can make this play.
Make the play.
And like that's what makes him special, right? And then I think about him setting the tone, Tan, emotionally. Like, this is the first tackle of the playoff game against Tampa. And watch him just come downhill and finish this run the way you're supposed to finish. And I also want to point out Frankie here, right?
Yeah.
Everyone, and Duran, too. Watch them play their leverage. He can't do what he's got to do.
He stayed outside.
Unless those dudes are doing like.
He allowed him to fill his gap.
Duran's got knocked back here, so the back can't cut it back, right? Great job by him. And Frankie's got good contain. And then watch him finish this thing. He's like, we are here, man.
Frankie has to take this on with the right shoulder. If he goes against this and take this on with the left shoulder, players over with, they're going to break the play out. So it's about everybody doing their job, and now it makes it easy for the linebacker. They waste no steps. Watch Bobby Wagner. When I say waste no steps, it's not a hop step in there. It's nothing. It's see ball, go get ball. That's all that matters.
Look at his feet, man. Like
look at the feet right here. No wasting no. I'm gone.
That's impressive, man.
That's it.
No pump fake, no nothing. We're getting after this thing. And talk about a guy who's got 1 million tackle reps, doesn't miss tackles, in the position he's supposed to be in. And so to see those guys working together is awesome. And to know what he brings is awesome. But then I think about the Tasmanian Devil, right?
Yes.
And watch him here in this cover too, right? He's going to pretend like he's got the flat and fall back underneath. And just he's got this innate playmaking ability that is special.
Ball meet magnet.
We didn't know he had that in him though.
No, he surprised us with that one right there. And that's good. When you rush the way he do and play with the intensity he do to show that I can play in space right here, that's everything for a defense right here. Great play right here by him.
And the intuition, the disguise, awesome job. But the thing that I get so blown away by him, Tana, and you were talking about this, like other people show this also, is his ability to time up a snap count, man. Like this is him off the ball. Watch him just slowly walk towards the line of scrimmage. It's like he's heard this cadence 1,000 times, and right when the ball's snapped,
he's gone.
I'm in the backfield.
He's gone.
Tackle for loss,
man. He's gone.
Like,
he's literally, he's timing the snap up, and he's doing the same thing as the snap right now. He makes it to the quarterback when the snap makes it to the quarterback.
So obviously 2 extremely special football players. I can't wait to watch them continue to get better behind this defensive line in 2025.
Always great seeing my guys breaking it down in the film room. Gotta imagine Frankie and Bobby Wagner are gonna be huge veterans for all these young guys. And speaking of veterans, we heard from Bobby and a few of the other vets earlier in minicamp. Let's check it out.
I think it's cool. You know, I think, like you said, I've been around a little bit. So one thing that tends to happen is, you know, on paper, you know, people start to make your own narrative and create your narrative. And I think at the end of the day, you still got to put that work in. So that's my message is, you know, we have different players. We have players that people, you know, recognize their names and all those things. That doesn't get you wins. You know, you got to go out there and still do the work and still be focused. And kind of the same thing, it's like, you know, last year people were unsure, you know, how good we were going to be. Now people know, you know, who we are as a team, who we are as a city. And so, you know, you got to wear that with pride and understand what that comes with. And, you know, we're going to get everybody's best every single game. You don't get this many primetime games for no reason.
That's right.
And so, you know, we're excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 8 guys in the running back room. This is the most I've ever had, and so it's competitive. But what I love most about this group, it kind of comes down from DQ's philosophy, but just continue the brotherhood. And for myself, I've always been an advocate of helping the young guys. Like my message is, you're trying to compete and take my job, and it's my job to hold my job. We want it to be competitive because it pushes everyone. That's what it continues to keep that fire that I was just talking about burning within us. And so we're out here and encouraging each other out here to continue to compete. You know, high fives. Hopefully everyone makes plays and stays healthy because it takes a village to push this thing forward into the season. We know we play a lot of running backs here last year, so whatever crew we have going out there on the field, it has to be able to make an impact.
It's early. What can a young player like yourself learn from Laramie? Talk to them.
I mean, basically everything. He's a guy that I watched in college who had to work on my tackle technique and now being able to
learn how to fit like combos as a guard, what he saw in Texas and with Houston when they were playing. Always something to pick up on. I always try to like pick his brain, and who else can read down the field and who else walk through. So, I mean, I'll be picking his brain probably all year, trying to get better from him.
Great to hear that our second-year lineman is learning the game from a pro like left tackle Laramie Tunsil. And he's not the only guy on our offensive line gaining knowledge from a vet. In our senior staff writer, Zach Selby's article, you can read more about Tunsil's first impressions of Washington's first-round draft pick, Josh Conerly Jr. You can check out the full article on commanders.com. Now, let's take a look at some winning numbers presented by the Maryland Lottery. Please play responsibly. Now, for today's winning numbers, we're taking a look at some of the Commanders' newest offensive linemen in 2025. Of course, the big man, 29th overall pick in the first round, Josh Conerly Jr. Then the free agent out of Pittsburgh, Nate Herbig. Another free agent out of the LA Chargers, Foster Sorrell. And then, of course, the all-pro Laramie Tunsil with a trade from the Houston Texans. The Commanders are adding depth to the trenches this offseason with free agency acquisitions and through the draft. Washington also re-signed center Michael Dieter and offensive tackle Trent Scott in free agency. Remember, Trent Scott caught that first touchdown by Jaden Daniels. Now, fellas, let's talk more in depth on this Commanders offensive line. It's time for Securing the W, presented by Hercules Fence. Security in every job. Now, fellas, we was at minicamp a few weeks ago. We got a little low here, but I think we all want to talk about this offensive line.
Yeah.
Logan, it was a priority to add depth to this offensive line. We saw that here. Why is that so important for what we're trying to do in year 2 with Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, I think everyone was really excited how the offensive line played last year, and I think they exceeded a lot of expectations. But I think one of the issues is like you have to look at it objectively, like they weren't as talented as they probably could have been, right? Mm-hmm. So you bring in some more talented pieces, and now you've relegated what I think are really good football players, Nick Allegretti and Wiley, to rotational roles. Yeah. So think about if Sam Cosmi's going to miss the beginning of the season, but you got Wiley who's started on Super Bowl teams, Nick Allegretti who's started on Super Bowl teams, who are going to play for this team. And I think like one of the things late in the year, I remember Tan and I talking about this, anytime there was any kind of nick, Biotis was nicked up, Cosmi nicked up, it was like, who's going to play?
Who took a step back?
Who's going to play, right? And now all of a sudden you got guys who played a ton of football that are good football players objectively, and I think that just means that like it just adds another layer of body armor for this team moving into this 2025 season.
And it's one thing to have depth, right? But you also want leadership across that. And I think that's what we get when we bring in a Laramie Tunsil. You get star power, but you also get leadership. Fred, when you look at him, how do you think he can impact the guys like Conerly Jr., our first-round pick, Brandon Coleman, our second-round pick last year? How do you think he can do?
Well, it takes me back to one of my childhood favorite games, musical chairs. Because once musical chairs, you got to go around and you got to find that chair. But once I sit in this chair, it moves somebody else somewhere else. And that's what Laramie Tunsil did. Because he comes to tackle, left tackle, he moves Coleman to guard. All right, when he moves to guard, that strengthens the offensive line. Okay, when you bring a Conerly in, you move him to a right tackle. I see you looking at my shoulder.
Were you playing a lot of musical chairs growing up?
I run around. Did you not play? I know that's an old game that me and Tanner played, but it was a fun game. But what that musical chair does is set everybody in their right position. All right, we had guys playing out of position last year, and not saying that they didn't play well, but now when you put Coleman at the guard position, now he has a chance to be a Pro Bowler at that position, and I think it strengthens the team and the offense all the way around.
Tanner, you played a lot of musical chairs growing up?
No.
Just Fred Robinson. Trying to lump you in it. I don't know why he lumped you in it. Let's talk about Brandon Coleman.
We used to do that.
Right. So let's talk about Brandon Coleman, though, because we did hear a coach talk about moving him to guard. We know he's going to be inside. That's a former basketball player. What does that athleticism, along with that size, make him better on the inside?
I think it just makes him comfortable at something that he really knows and he really is confident about. I think, don't get me wrong, played left tackle extremely well last year, especially as a rookie. And I think, arguably he could have probably been one of the better, left tackles as a rookie in the league, around the league. But I think when you are comfortable in your space, like if you're playing something that you've been playing, you brought up, been playing for probably your whole career, it gives you that comfortability again to say, now I can go out here and perfect what I know. Yes, I can play this position, but I also can perfect what I know. And I think when you have a guy like Tunsil too, with his athleticism, as good as he is as a pass blocker, as consistent as he is as a rush blocker or a run protector, or whatever you want to call it, it just brings that whole side better. It gives you more cohesiveness when it comes to just what you have out there. And let me say this also, just chiming in on what Logan talked about, as a whole now, as a team, as a unit, they get to dictate what they want to do because that depth is added and because those key players is added. They don't have to necessarily go out there and say, well, now we only one-dimensional. No, we can be a pass team, we can be a run team, we can be whatever we want to be.
And I think with Brandon Coleman specifically, it's not so much the athleticism, it's like the bend, right? Like there's, on the perimeter, you got to be really bendy kind of in the hips, right? And I think like that's one of the things, like Tanner brought up a good point. I think he played fine at tackle, but I think because of his body type, kind of how he moves, the type of athlete that he is, I think he's going to be much better at guard. It reminds me a lot of Sam Cosmi, quite honestly, right? Could Cosmi have played tackle in the NFL? Sure, right? But I think he's much better. He's going to be a Pro Bowl player guard. I think that's kind of the similar trajectory for Brandon Coleman.
I think when you play tackle, I think you got to own the game going backwards when you play tackle. In guard, I think of going forward. Like I think of forward momentum. So when it comes to Coleman, when you get a 320-pounder moving forward like that, like I think then he's gonna have the ability to showcase his talent at guard more than he had a chance to showcase his talent at tackle. And I think that's going to change the whole outlook of the offensive line.
And all these things you guys talk about, it makes you look at a guy like Josh Connolly Jr. coming into a room that's already established. Remember, we talk about all the time, AP said, we're ready to play today before they even got Josh Connolly. Logan, as somebody that's been in those rooms that knows how important it is to be cohesive with that blocking unit, man, how great a position is Josh Connolly in right now? Being able to be in a line that really looks like it's solidified.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great for him. And I think it'd be great, obviously, when Sam Cosmi is healthy to be playing next to a guy like that. But I think that's the great enigma with offensive line and DB to a certain extent, right? It's how those five guys play as one, right? It's getting five guys to see things the same way, and so he's gonna have his bumps and bruises along the way, being a young player. But I do think like getting those guys on the same page, and that's why training camp's going to be so important. That's why the OTA minicamp period is so important. So can they continue to maximize
joint practices? I know y'all too hate the joint practices, but they gonna get that offensive line gonna get a ton of work against the Patriots. They gonna get a ton of work against the Ravens.
And I know we're all excited to see our first round pick in those environments. Josh Connolly Jr. caught up with me on Raising Hell with the Rookies. That dropped Monday on the Commanders YouTube page. Let's check out what the young brother had to say. It's time for Raising Hell with the Rookies, presented by Intuit for Education, tackling financial literacy together. Who are some of those guys that are playing that like veteran leadership role for you? Because I know that offensive line has some dogs in there. I mean, there's a ton of y'all. Everybody's in there competing and working. Who are some of those guys that really helped you along the way?
I mean, honestly, everybody throws in their little bits and pieces, but specifically, like Bobby Hart helps me a lot, and Julian Good-Jones, like those are two dudes that I always see in the facility, and I kind of rock with around a little bit. Trent Scott, Andrew Wiley, like those guys. Tyler, I mean, everybody kind of gives their
like a family.
Yeah, exactly. You know, everyone kind of just gives their little sprinkle of knowledge to help me, and you know, I just take it around with it.
Now here's a look at the college accolades for the Commanders' first-round pick out of Oregon. He started 14 games at left tackle for the Ducks back in 2024. He was an all-Big Ten first-teamer, and he allowed 0 pressures in 10 or 14 games in 2024. You know we gotta love that. And our Get Loud crew, who we know you love, Mike Jenks and Fred Smoot, spoke about the Commanders' first-round draft pick. It's time for Best Seat in the House, presented by SeatGeek. The most disruptive idea in ticketing, a ticket that works. Expect the expected. SeatGeek.
I remember when we were at the draft party down in Navy Yard, and the pick came in, and it was Josh Connolly Jr., and at first we're like, oh yeah.
Now I get it.
Yep.
And can I call him JCJ? Is you okay with that?
I'm okay with it.
All right. Well, his new nickname is JCJ. And when you get a guy like this is an ex-running back playing tackle. Once I hear that the guy used to be a great athlete, and then you grew up and you grew into this big, massive body, and now you get to move people, I love the pick, and I can't wait to see this guy develop as the year goes on.
And one thing you keep hearing is student of the game. Absorbs everything, which is what you want in a guy you pick this high.
The question is, have you taken the JCJ challenge? Have you done it yet, Jinx?
I got on my knees to try and do it, and then realized I could break both of my hips. And I was like, nope,
it happens.
That's for him.
That shows you what type of athlete we got at that right tackle. I think he has a chance to bring us back to being the Wild Boars. I cannot wait.
Shout out to the Get Loud crew. Now, if you want to catch them live, be sure to head over to Duffy's Irish Pub in Capitol Hill this Friday at 8 p.m. That's tomorrow at 8 p.m. You will not want to miss Get Loud Live with Fred and some special guests. And Hail Tales is back for season 2. Tune in for untold stories and fresh perspective on some of the greatest moments in franchise history. In episode 1, Gary Clark, Brian Mitchell, Charles Mann, and more dive into the memories and meaning behind the iconic RFK Stadium. Listen now wherever you get your podcast. Now, a lot of legends earning their name in Washington history books during the team's tenure at RFK. In honor of those legendary moments, our Command Center analysts assembled a list of some of their favorite Washington GOATs. Fellas, to end a fun show, we thought it'd be cool for y'all to pick y'all top 5 Washington players all time. Any position, any era. We gonna let Tanner go first because I got a feeling Fred put himself on the list. We gonna have him go last. Tanner, who is on your list, brother?
Well, my top 5, of course, I'm not on my list.
Of course.
Number 1, I got Darryl Green. I don't think I need to chime in too long with Darryl.
Mr. Washington.
Mr. Washington, 20-something years. Who did it better than him?
Nobody.
Hall of Famer. Need not to say more. Art Monk.
Hall of Famer.
Another Hall of Famer.
Yellow Jacket.
I just got a chance to talk to Gary Clark about him, and he told me a little more that I didn't know about Art.
So, that was a cool conversation. When he came to the show,
extremely one of the best receivers that probably came through this franchise. Number 3, I got S-Dot. I mean, I think he was a guy that was prematurely taken away from us at that moment of his career, man. At that time, rather. 4 years into his NFL career, he was already one of the best safeties in the league. You know, so. He's going to probably arguably be one of the best, Redskins / Commanders.
Dexter Manley. Yes.
Yeah.
The cyborg.
I shake the dude's hand and just realized, like,
he's trying to crush your hand. He's
something different. He's something different. A beast, man. He was a beast. I heard so many stories about him. Just the stories about him, being somewhere else before the game started and coming in late. And dominating, just one of those
my type of dude.
Breathtaking. And last but not least, Doug Williams.
Love that.
I think, man, arguably you got to think about it. We had some of the best quarterback play here in franchise history through all those guys who won championships as quarterbacks. You got, Joe Theismann, you have Ripken, and then you got Doug. But I say Doug he was the first African American and one of the first to do it here. So that's why Doug is my guy.
What you got?
So Sammy Baugh for me was a guy. I mean, a lot of people consider maybe the best football player of all time. Led the league in interceptions,
passing yards, and almost rushing. His team rushing in the same year.
For him to be a Redskin, I think he's got to acknowledge that. Darryl Green, obviously, Tanner just talked extensively about him. John Riggins is a guy, man. I felt like really defined that era of the Hogs at a high level. To me, just awesome watching him run behind the Hogs and the physicality. Kind of encapsulated that era of football for the organization. Sonny Jurgensen, man, was totally ahead of his time.
SJ9.
In terms of how he threw the football, you look at some of his stat lines, you're like, man, he could have played today with
Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely, then Art Monk, I totally agree. Like in terms of leading receiver for the organization, and from a storied franchise, it's hard to pick 5 guys, but man, I feel like these dudes really encapsulated there.
Nice, good. Me and your list are not so different.
Oh yeah,
surprise.
I started out with Mr. Washington, Darryl Green. I think that's consistent around all of us. Everybody knows the ageless one is always going to be there. Slinging Sammy Baugh. I think Slinging Sammy Baugh don't get enough love because he wore that leather helmet, and people don't like to give that era the love that it is. But you heard what we said. Led his team in passing, interceptions, and rushing. Unbelievable.
And punting in a year,
and punting. And did all of this. Then I got Jay Riggins. When you think about John Williams, all you're thinking about is that off-tackle run against the Miami
Dolphins.
Yes, sir. Baby. Run that rock downhill. Then I got Dexter Manley, Scarface himself. When you look at him, you're intimidated by him. If you know Dexter Manley, you know he's a man. And last but not least, number 5, I got Fred Schmidt.
You did not put yourself on here.
He was great.
There's no way you put yourself on
this list.
He was great.
He was great.
It's great person. Get out of here, bro.
But I put a slash right there. Fred / Sean Taylor / Mark Mosley. A kicker. The only kicker to win MVP.
The man said a family. Y'all let know Fred in the comments how crazy he is. And y'all let us know y'all top 5 in the comments. We want to hear from y'all. I think these fellas did good. I did not put a top 5 together. But if I had to put a top 3 together, I'd pick all y'all gentlemen right here, man. I always love working with y'all, man. It's always a fun time.
The field.
Fred Smoot would definitely be on my list too. For Santana Moss, Fred Smoot, Logan Paulson, I am Brian Coleman Jr. Until next time, Commanders family, we out.